Hello and welcome. We are back with our Heroes of Improv series, and today I'm super excited because with us is Tony Rielage from Theater Momentum to talk dramatic improv.
It's my favorite thing. I love it.
Yes, and Tony, one of the reasons I'm so excited is your classes were really the foundation for me on a different whole type of improv. I knew I wanted something besides chasing laughs,
Hmm.
but the classes that you gave, and I know at that time you were transitioning to online,
Yeah.
but um, it was really interesting. Some folks have compared it to being like a timing thing, like if in sports, like going from slow pitch softball to fast pitch baseball.
Yeah.
What was your experience? How did you get into dramatic improv?
Well, I actually have been doing improv since 92, and this was back in Cincinnati, Ohio, where there was no improv scene or anything whatsoever. And I started with some, high school students that this was me in high school. We all had access to a little black box theater in the school, and it's just a bunch of precocious, smart ass kids, and we would hang out there at lunchtime and play improv games. And I did that, for high school, and then into college, started trying to do some, short form stuff. And I did short form for 10 years, actually, with a couple of different groups in Cincinnati. I actually started a couple of groups up. And the entire time we're doing all of this short form stuff, I'm kind of finding myself shying away from everything that excludes story, that is like 185 blanks walk into a bar, or like
Mhm.
world's worst, or these line games or things like that. I could do them, sure, but it wasn't as satisfying. So all of our short form games were scenic,
Mhm.
and we had an idea after reading Truth in Comedy that we're going to do a herald, and we didn't know what it was, and we apparently didn't read it closely enough, because we ended up creating like 4 or 5 different storylines. And we said, okay, well, we're not supposed to finish the show until all of these threads are complete, until everything has finished its story. And we went for an hour and a half straight. And at the end of it, we were all just like, what did we just do? That was insane. That was so cool. Like, I have no idea. And we never really managed to make it into anything at the time, but it really kind of hit me with that bug. And I moved to Chicago in 2002. I did the stuff at IO. I did some stuff at Annoyance, and some things at Playground, and didn't get put on a team at IO, which is wah, wah, wah for about 5 minutes. And then I decided to start my own workshop series. I had a coach who owed me a favor, and he came in and he coached for a little while. And then I got hooked up with a fantastic director by the name of Don Hall, who used to run WNEP Theater here in Chicago. And he was very much the kind of person that said dramatic improv is something that it's possible. He wouldn't have used those exact words, but the theatricality of dramatic
Mhm.
improv was something that he taught a lot. And so that was kind of my starting point for that. And after that workshop series uh, continued to evolve, it became Theater Momentum back in 2007, and we produced a number of shows then. And for the past 11 years or so, I've been teaching dramatic improv, and we kind of really started shaping our training center in the past couple of years, and then COVID hit.
Mhm.
And while it's been terrible in a lot of ways, obviously, um, just getting to work with so many students around the world, and getting to teach multiple times a week and really hone the teaching of dramatic improv has been just an enormous boon to me as a teacher. So I love it, you know. And we did the festival. We started the festival back in 2019. Did that in person in Chicago. Uh, and it was well received. It was fun. It was a really nice thing. This was after doing some stuff online in the Facebook group Dramatic Improv Worldwide. I
Mhm.
just kind of started that up on a whim, just to see who else is doing stuff out there.
Yeah.
What else is out there that falls into this umbrella of dramatic improv, for lack of a better word, because it's kind of an inside term, I think, to call it that. Um, but who else is doing stuff? And that spawned a lot of conversations. And then we started doing the festival. Last year we did it all online. We're doing it online again this year. And hopefully next year we'll be able to do it in person, and I'll actually get to meet all of the students that I've met and all of the shows and all the people and
Mhm.
all of that. I would love to just meet everybody and just, spend a long week trading ideas and drinking coffee and beer until God knows what hour of the day.
Being like a precocious teenager again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's the element that I think a lot of there's the ability to really learn a ton by just having the nerve to do it.
Yeah.
And the description you just gave of showing all those moments where, well, maybe it's not in a book, or maybe it's not in a class, or maybe we're doing it wrong, but you get that hour and a half and you're like, whoa, you
Yeah.
know, that is, I think, something. One of the things that I really was hoping was that I knew I wanted to do something dramatic.
Mhm.
And then I was searching. There was nothing really in the Minneapolis St. Paul area. Um, there were a few people at Huge who
Mhm.
were, exploring. But then COVID hit, and I found your classes thanks to, that's one of the silver linings.
Yeah.
And I had this notion in my head like, well, maybe there was this world of just chock full of dramatic improv everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the pandemic, and that's why it seems less. But I think we're still in this stage where, like what you described, where the umbrella, there's still a lot of islands searching and trying
Mhm.
to connect.
Yeah. It's something that I think it's starting to kind of come into its own more in recent years. Uh, but the thing that's really strange is that no one really quite knows what to call it.
Yes.
If you ask European improvisers, well, what do you call dramatic improv, or, non-comedic improv? Like, what do you call it? And they'll just say, well, we call it improv. We call it impro.
Yeah.
It is what it needs to be. Like, whatever the show needs to be, that's what it is, and the audiences know that. And if you ask people in Chicago, um, if you talk about improv, they're going to be like, it's comedy. Improv is comedy.
Yeah.
It's not to denigrate comedic improv, but it is sometimes it's like group stand up. You know,
Mhm.
when it's really good, it's a good sitcom. Um, but the the deeper level that can be accomplished with more theatrical improv is not something that quite has like a hub. you know
Mhm.
People don't know where to go to explore that. They go to, you know IO or Second City or, Annoyance, and they say that's improv comedy, that's where I go for improv comedy. And for improv theater, I guess, is probably the best way to put it, there's not that kind of a hub, which is why we're constantly pushing for it. We're trying to get people to know that, it exists, it's out there. But I have to admit, I'm never quite sure what to call it, because I call it dramatic improv so that people can separate it from comedic improv. But at the same time, I don't want people walking in going, "Oh, it's dramatic," and they're expecting people to be chasing after, you
Yeah.
know, pathos and tears and big Oscar-winning moments and all that, in the same way that, bad comedic improv chases after your laughter.
Mhm.
You know, I feel like with dramatic improv, um, and if you can find a good way to phrase it, if you can find a better name to call it that says this, hit me up, let me know. Um, I feel like it explores the gamut of human emotions. It explores the entire spectrum of human emotions, whereas comedic improv is mostly, it's one sliver of that. right? And dramatic improv can be, comedic. It can have moments of laughter and levity, and I've seen those, and frankly, I love those moments. I find them funnier than most of what I see in comedic improv. But it also has moments where there is darkness and sadness and love and huge human vulnerable emotion. And
Hmm.
that to me is something that is it's hard to put a name to it. That's
We
the struggle.
we've almost every interview we've had has gotten to the what do you call it piece, and some in the States in particular, and I think it's because of that just really firm association with comedy. There's been it's like narrative improv, or another popular is theatrical improvised theater. So that terminology, where I was chuckling when you mentioned outside of the States, because there, yeah, it's improv.
Yeah,
What's the deal?
yeah.
Um, I'm also I was chuckling inside at what when you discussed that there can be the humorous element in there, but it's more natural. Recently, I found myself taking a non-dramatic, non-theatrical improv class where everybody was, chasing the laughs, and I was just,
Traitor.
and yeah, and well, and I'm just like, trying to keep my head above water because it's been like a year,
Yeah,
and I finally decided, screw it. I'm just going to play it straight and do dramatic
yeah.
and see if anybody even notices. And I got the biggest laugh that I've got. Now, I don't know if that says how bad I am at comedic improv or how, well, anyway, and it just showed me that if you do the simple connection
Hmm.
and get the emotion, that those are the moments that when people laugh, it's laughing of like an intimate surprise of ah, I've been there,
Yeah.
you
Well,
rather than Groucho Marx.
they say, and I wish I could find who originally said this, that laughter is the sound of expectations being broken, right? There's a notion that evolutionarily laughter is related to like a bark or
Mhm.
a noise like that, because a bark is something that you do when there's danger, so the
Mm.
part of haha is that attack, and then the ha at the end of it is the realization, like, oh, it's not an attack. And so it's that expectation of something, that something violent, but it's not. So the discord between those two ideas is where we get laughter, right? So the thing that I'm always finding with comedic improv, just because I've been doing this a long enough time, is that I'm not surprised most of the time. Like, I see the joke coming a mile
Mhm.
away, you know, and it's telegraphed, and it's pat, and it's the same thing over and over and over again. Um, but when you have somebody that is actually emotionally involved in the scene, um, people that are expecting comedy and they see you being emotionally involved, they're like, wait, what? Oh, what's happening? And they're thrown off by it. They're surprised by it. So when the laughter does come, it is rich, and it is surprising, and it is natural. It's not forced. It's not the laughter of a teacher trying to pat you on the back for a good job. Because I don't know if you've seen that before, um, where everything you do is just ha 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 ha, and it's very clearly like he laughs exactly the same way for every single thing. Like, there's nothing that's surprising him. You know, uh, that's what I love about theatrical improv.
Mhm.
Call it what you will, but that's what I love about it, because it's not going in with the notion that we're going to surprise you. Prepare to be surprised.
Mhm.
It's just, we're doing this thing, and if something strikes you as funny, then laugh. And if something strikes you as shocking, then gasp. Or, if something makes you want to go, oh, you fucking son of a, then do that. Like I have seen that happen in dramatic improv shows. Oh, it tickles me so. I love it, love it, love it. When I see audience members just when somebody walks in that's kind of the villain of the show and they just go, "You son of a fucking you tell him. Just tell him kick his ass." Like that kind of a reaction from the audience when they just can't help themselves. Oh, I love that. I love that. My favorite. Anyway,
Well, we're doing a dramatic soap opera.
yeah.
And so we have villains and we have our power couple that everybody makes their life miserable and a lot of that fun. What advice would you give to the cast of Duluth to uh, uh, in terms of an approach to make that as rich as what you're talking, that those moments you love?
Uh, leave nothing on the table. We did a show. We've done a number of serialized shows, and I love doing these because you get to develop characters that
Mhm.
are three-dimensional and rich, and they have a history with each other, and there's so many cool options. The problem that has arisen for us so many times is that the actors get in their heads. They're like, I wanted to like in my head I was holding a gun like in my coat pocket and I wanted to shoot him, but I didn't because I figured if I shot him then it was gonna be this, and then I would have spent you know we would have burned through all of the action, and we've still got 10 more shows to do. And shoot him, shoot the gun, do the
Mhm.
thing, get to the stuff. Don't don't put something off until later. If you have an instinct to do something, anything emotional whatsoever, that is always the right frickin' choice.
Mhm.
Every time. I say it to all my actors, you know this, that follow your instincts. That's the note that I give the absolute most. Follow your instincts. The emotional choice is always right. Adding emotion into your scenes is always going to make them better. Um, and yeah, just don't hold back. you know, don't worry about, oh God, if we do this, we're not going to be able to do anything later. Watch a soap opera. I mean, I'm not proud of it, but I'm also not going to call it a guilty pleasure because I don't feel guilty about it either. I watch Days of Our Lives every week. My fiance got me into it, and now I know all the actors, know all the characters, I know all of the plots. I know, I forget every now and again who's related to whom because it's a complex web. But I know all of those things, and they go insane. There's the most bizarre stuff you've ever seen, and they keep this going for, you know, 200 episodes a year for 50 some odd years. Like you can manage it for a dozen shows
Yeah.
or whatever it is, and it'll be fantastic. So go there, make the big choices, make the choice, make a choice, do a thing. Do not talk about doing a thing later. Do it
Right.
now. Do it
Yep.
now. There's no time like the present.
And the beauty of the soap is exactly like when you say, "That's it, I'm out of this marriage." Play that, and then the next episode is about why you're still married.
Yeah.
And then
Or it's about the aftermath of not being together. You
yes,
know, like
or it's about
I've told students this 1,000 times. This is a thing I learned from Don Hall a million years ago, and I stand by it and I love it. Um, if you feel like leaving the scene, leave. You know, your scene partner will either stop you or they won't. If they stop you, then you're dealing with the emotions, and the two of you are together, and you've got your scene, and that's what shows are about. You know, shows and scenes are about relationships. Relationships are about emotions. So they're going to get their emotions right in your face and stop you from going. If they're like, "No, Pete, don't leave me. I love you," they'll stop you, right? Or they'll just say, "Fine, Pete, that's your decision. You just go ahead and go." And they let you go. And then they're left alone on stage and they have to deal with the repercussions of that, you know? And that is sometimes, it's almost always this rich, wonderful, deep, delicious, meaty kind of a theater, because now you just have to watch them alone with their thoughts and see what are the repercussions of that look like. And sometimes it lasts, 20 seconds. Sometimes it can last for 5 minutes. Sometimes the character can come back in later. Who knows? But go ahead and do that thing. Make that choice. Making the choice is always better than saying, maybe. And that's something that holds people back in regular, you know, regular comedic improv versus scripted improv or versus dramatic improv. All improv suffers by people going, maybe, I don't know. Get a yes, no question, give a yes, no answer. All right, I'm done teaching.
Well,
Like
this is
throwing a bunch of teaching stuff in right now.
this is I'm tempted to talk about the time that I possibly frustrated you the most was where you would have taken a big piece of paper and tried to club me over the head through Zoom, where it was that exact moment where I was in a scene and I was like, I should walk off stage. I'm gonna, that's it. Okay, I'm out of here. And you asked me, Pete, what were you doing? I said, well, I was going to walk off stage. And, yeah, that's what you should do. You know,
To follow.
yes. And for some reason, I felt like I had to have a permission slip to
Yeah.
walk off stage.
You
And
have a blanket permission
yeah,
slip by the act of doing improv theater. You have a blanket permission slip to do practically anything. Okay. I mean, as long as you're not, you know, I mean, outside of the obvious, like don't
yes.
attack your partners, don't assault them or molest them or whatever. But otherwise, you have permission to do so much. And the things that people stop themselves from doing are not the things where we're like, well, I stopped myself from going in for a kiss because come on, that's weird and I shouldn't be doing that. And I want to ask for permission before I do that. No, they say, yeah, I stopped myself from, going and making myself a drink because I don't know, we've been doing a lot of drinking in the scene and I thought that, and I thought, 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 and it drives me crazy. That's one thing I try as much as I can to give all of my students and all my actors as many tools as possible to stop thinking.
Mhm.
Just feel. Get your brain, get your prefrontal cortex a little busy and let your amygdala do some of the work. Let it be the emotional based center that does the work.
It would not be an interview with you, Tony, if I didn't bring up object work. And object
Yeah,
work, this was probably one of the biggest takeaways I had was
go
when
for
I
it.
would get in my head, I would just start doing the object work. And that freed me up. And I remember being in a scene in like your level three, and
Mhm.
I was just getting stuck. And I just started doing like the motion from Stop Making Sense, like the talking heads, you know?
Yeah,
And I said, I'm just gonna do anything. And it got me out of my head.
yeah,
And nobody said, what the heck were you doing? They interpreted that that was something with the scene, and all of a sudden I was just going instead of
yeah,
pondering.
yeah.
So uh, I think I got to give you some more time for the teaching moments on you do stress object work.
I do. I do. I think object work is um it's foundational to me because it creates a playground to do your scenes in, and there's so many things. Come take my class. I'll plug the full class later, but it gives you opportunities to get out of your head by getting into your body. It gives you opportunities to show your emotion, to discover emotions, uh, um, and it's the one thing that I will say I have yet to see make a scene worse. You can go ahead and you can use your environment and it will always make your scene better. It is a third character in your scene who will always agree with you. Um, yeah, I think that one of the things that drives me crazy is that in so many schools, at least in Chicago, and I can't speak for other theaters, and if they don't do this, God bless them. So much of it is do some more object work, do something else, and people are like, okay, well, I don't, like, well, I want to climb a ladder, but I don't know what that looks like. and I'm not sure how to go about doing that. And I want to shoot pool, but I'm not like, I know what shooting pool looks like, but how do I do that? Well, we're on a rocket ship. How am I supposed to do a rocket ship? I've never flown in a freaking rocket ship before. And learning the tools to get comfortable with that takes time, just like anything else. And I think if you can get comfortable with that, that will help you to create a foundation on which a lot of other lessons can be built. Um, Once you get comfortable with the physical environment being a part of every scene that you do, then you start thinking of things as how is the outside influencing the inside? You know, how am I uh, um, how am I going to create a character physically? And how am I going to remind myself of that character? Because I'm doing 10 different characters in this show. How do I keep myself from switching from one character to
Mhm.
in the middle of a scene, like dropping an accent or, suddenly walking differently? Like, oh, okay, it's something physical. It's a physical thing that this character does, or it is a way that they move. And it's a million little things that are all physical. And I'm a huge proponent of the outside in approach. I think that um, it's helpful, it's easy, and it lets you be lazy. I personally, I am all about being a lazy
Mhm.
improviser. I didn't get into improv because I can't memorize a script, but I am in it because I like to uh, build something early and then coast. You make little adjustments here and there, but I like to do the work up front in the scene, build the space, build the relationships, build the why and the how and the stakes, and build that up, and then coast because the scene will tell you where to go, and that's a lot of that is based off of the physical foundation. So that's what I got there.
There we go. Well, this has been a ton of fun. Tony, please do fill us in on how to take the classes.
Yeah. Classes, we are actually starting up a level one class uh, as of May 11th. It's on Tuesday nights, 6 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And we have three levels of classes. Level one is improv and physics. And it is all about, learning the how of object work and the why of object work, and using that to really uh, build a playground for your scenes to happen in and intensify your emotions and discover emotions through how you're doing what you're doing. Level two, which will start up 7 weeks after that, I don't have the date in front of me. That one is about realistic characters and relationships. And that is all about uh, it's got some minor Meisner stuff in there and some psychological stuff in there to really connect you with your scene partner on a deep fundamental level, and ways to create characters that are believable, that you can hold on to for a while, and that you can, if you need to be able to switch from one character to another, you can do so in a manner that is easy to come back to repeatedly. Level three, which will start after that, is about improv as writing. And this is all about learning some techniques to make your improv feel a little bit more like it had been scripted, like teaching you some rhetorical devices to fold into your work so that an audience looks at it and goes, okay, well, clearly they wrote that because, look at what they did here
Mhm.
and look how, that turn of phrase, like that was very poetic there because of this, and this, or look how they put this thing here and then they brought it back here in this way. And this was all clearly scripted. That's what level three is all about. So those are the first three levels that we have out there right now. We sometimes put in a level four if people are interested in that. We usually check in with all the students near the beginning of level three to see if they want to do a level four. Level four is all about um, show structures and longer scenes,
Mhm.
and that gets into doing a porch play, which is Michael Gelman, and doing a protagonist focused one act, which is also a ton of fun to do. So that is all stuff you can find out on our website, theatermomentum.com/classes. And that's theater RE, not ER, because we're a bunch of pretentious fucks over here. Uh, and we also actually have the Dramatic Improv Festival coming up later this year.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all going to be online again this year. That is October 6th through the 10th. And we are taking um, teacher submissions and performer submissions for that. So people can go ahead and sign up on our website, dramaticimprovfest.com, and just tell us all about your show. We're all about learning what other people are doing out there and communing with this wonderful world of dramatic improvisation and seeing what's out there, because I love this stuff and I love talking to people about it and learning from everybody I possibly can, because I'm still a student even though I teach. What are you gonna do? Always a student.
Very, very cool and really exciting with what you're doing with the online presence, getting all these different communities to come together. So thank you for that. Folks, if you've enjoyed this, please subscribe to our channel because it's just the right thing to do. And Tony, thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Pete. I really appreciate it. This has been so much fun.